You're listening to Season 5 of Three Angry Giant Fans and a Jet Fan podcast with your hosts Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan Novak. Get us free on Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to check out our new website, angryfootballfans.com. We also have a new sponsor for Season 5, the Carolina Beer Temple in Matthews, North Carolina. Let's go Giants, go Jets, and get ready to have some fun.
Can you just walk us through what happened there on the play where you and Arnold wound up throwing punches?
Me and Arnold never do no punches. Joseph.
Just walk us through what play I'm talking about.
I mean, it's hot. We competing. Stuff like that's gonna happen. It's football at the end of the day. He did, but I'm not gonna repeat it.
Looks like it was a contested play and Arnold was in coverage, right?
Uh-huh.
You kind of tapped him on the helmet coming up, and it looked like maybe he objected to that and he thought that was kind of patronizing.
Oh no, it's the competitive me and Arnold. You know, we talk almost every day about just competing, how great we want to be. So it's nothing against him. You know, he's my brother, so I'm gonna give him the work he needs. He's gonna give me the work I need. But it was just I was tapping him on the helmet. Good play. That's all it was.
So that was Malik Neighbors talking about things getting heated in practice as they usually do in the preseason. Giants are scrimmaging against the Lions this week, and tempers flared, and you like to see that fight. So we're going to talk about, the fight of players in preseason and also how it carries over to the regular season a little bit later. But guys, Season 5 of the Three Angry Giant Fans and the Jet Fans. We got lots of new stuff this year. As I mentioned in the opening, we have a new website, angryfootballfans.com. We're doing a live show this year, August 28th at the Carolina Beer Temple in Matthews, North Carolina. We're going to have more guests this year. It's all around. It's shaping up to be a fantastic season, and can't be happier than to spend it with you guys. So this is your host, Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jets fan Novak. Guys, welcome back.
Love being back, guys.
Good to be
Season
back. 5,
hard to believe, right? We were like a garage band a couple of years ago, just trying to tune up some guitars and some nonsense, and now we're Greg Brady, we're Johnny Bravo, man. We've got a sponsor, we've
got logos, we've got websites,
merchandise,
live
websites.
show merchandise.
I gotta talk to Darren about some of the website stuff. It's not. I mean, he did an all right job. It's pretty good. But.
My family loved it. They were looking at it, said website looks fantastic. It just went live today, so if you've not seen the website, we'll be putting it in all of our recaps of the podcasts and all of everything that we put out there for like the YouTube videos and things like that. But guys, I got to tell you this. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't know how long we'll go tonight because, the off season, we got some stuff to talk about. We got Hard Knocks to talk about. We got a preview. We got preseason games this week if people don't realize it. But I really felt like in the off season, I was able to recharge my batteries. I was starting to feel really down at the end of last year with all the shenanigans going on in the NFL. And it seems like just walking away and not really seeing some NFL content for about 2 months really helped. And then, we came in and we did the free agent preview and we did the draft recap. And those were good buffers to basically lead us into Season 5. So back. Very excited. I'm like that commercial the NFL Network used to run where your team's 0-0 and everyone's got the optimism. I'm optimistic as hell.
I just could not disagree more with that, Scott. Nothing has been recharged. I am picking up right where I left off. Yeah. The season, the football, I'm optimistic about the Giants. Just everything, though. Just everything that we've been talking about the last few years is we'll hit on it all this year, I'm sure, but it is peaking. I hope it's peaking. I hope it's peaking right now because the NFL's in a bad state.
We'll have a lot to be angry about this year.
Oh, yeah.
A lot, week in and week out, a lot to be angry about. I love Scott's optimism. He brings it every year. And for it's worked out, 1 year in 2022, which was just a fraudulent year in a myriad of just a mess of a football team. We had one playoff appearance, but I don't know, man. things are right back to where they kind of left off. And Scott, you highlighted on the website that my biggest annoyance is the sports media. And just with that, if I may go back to the opening there about this kerfuffle that the Lions and Giants had. So, you see about you scroll through and you see some headlines, and of course, I saw a must-see Daniel Jones in the middle of a scrum, and I'm thinking to myself, what? Daniel Jones in the middle of a brawl here? What's going on? So sure enough, like a jerk, I take the time to watch this 20-second video from 50 yards off the field. You can't see anything. Daniel Jones is nowhere to be found. I'm looking for the red jersey what they wear in the training camp. And if anything, one of the staff guys is trying to push him out of the way. I'm like, yeah, must-see Daniel Jones involved in the scrum. Come on, involved in the scrum. Knock it off.
The must-see.
Must-see.
So I can't believe that we have preseason games this week. So tomorrow night, we're taping this on a Wednesday. The Giants play the Lions, and then I think it's Saturday night, the Commanders and Jets. So the Jets got the Redskins week 1. Giants, Lions, very spirited practices. And guys, there's always those teams every year that they come off of a season and they start getting too high for their britches. We used to see it with the Cardinals. Every year, Cardinals are going to be in the contention. Cardinals are going to be in contention. Cardinals have a good year. Next year, Cardinals could be super bound. We're seeing the same shit with the Lions, but people are breaking down the fights that the Giants and Lions are having, and Lions fans are posting, the Giants want to be like the Lions. I don't want to be like the Lions. I want to be the opposite of the Lions. The Lions have had 1 year of success in the last 3 decades?
Yeah, how the hell are these guys popping off at this point? Really, they have been the worst team in the NFL for 4 decades? Even worse than my team, and that's hard to say.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Scott said it before we got on air. The Lions are going to be the annoyance this year, no doubt.
They could well be. They could well be. I still like their coach. At least he's the most interesting coach in the NFL, which is not a very high bar to have to cross. I mean, there's nobody interesting anymore. But yeah, the Lions, and Scott mentioned the Cardinals, but the funny thing about that, over the years, the Lions have traditionally been one of those teams too, where everyone would say, look out for the Lions next year. Yep. Look out for the Lions. So this is more of the same with the Lions. Nobody wants to be like the Lions. You don't get to say stuff like that until you do something. For crying out loud. I mean, that is ridiculous. And these fights in training camp, by the way, anytime 2 teams get together, there is a fight at every one of these every year. And the media, as Cardone already pointed out, must see this, reading things into it. What does this mean for this? It means nothing. It means a whole lot of very large, very competitive people are on the same field at the same time. It's ridiculous.
Well, now I guess, is it new that there's so many changes in the NFL? You automatically get fined now for having a scuffle in training camp. Each team was fined $200,000. Where does that go?
Yeah.
Is that new and improved padded helmets? What do we call those things again?
The Guardians?
The Guardians. Thank you, Scott.
They're like the Cleveland baseball team.
Yeah,
exactly.
They named the
Guardians
team after him in Cleveland.
Which eventually we'll see those in regular season games any time
now. It's coming. It's going to be next year. I'll bet you it'll be at least in the preseason.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they've been cleared this season that if you want to wear a Guardian helmet, you can. I thought I'd seen. I thought I heard that in the off season. I could be wrong. It could be just for preseason games, but I thought I heard that.
So with the guy, what is it going to have? The logo then patched in on it? How are you going to? Is this? It looks like the guy's wearing a satellite, one of those satellite dish cushions or something on top of his head.
The Great Kazoo from the
Jetsons.
Yeah, Flintstones.
Yeah. Oh, Flintstones. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Flintstones.
I prefer the Jetsons though. Actually, Novak.
Yeah. And then you're going to have 3 different versions of the Guardian to account for throwback uniforms and everything else.
I tell you what, though, guys, I'm looking at new rules of the NFL, and it's like I'm studying for a CPA exam or something like that. I feel so unprepared. I tell you what I have up, and maybe we'll get into this a little bit later, Scott. But I'm just looking at the new NFL kickoff rules. It's look how long the sheet. There's old, new. There's 10 things they have listed here just for a kickoff.
Did you see it in the Hall of Fame game? Anyone? The kickoff?
Did not.
I
heard
did
about
see it, yeah.
But
It is hard to watch. It is like Cardone said last year. It is the pussification of the NFL.
Pussification.
I mean, at least we're getting returns. That's the only thing I can say that's positive. But it doesn't look like real football. And the worst rule for me is, and you can't kick an onside kick until the fourth quarter. You have to be losing, and you have to announce that you're doing it to kick an onside kick. Are you kidding me?
why don't we just have offense and defensive huddles? Why don't they just huddle together?
Right.
And just tell everybody what they're doing.
Yeah.
Hey, we're just
hands.
we're fourth quarter. If the defense is down, we're gonna allow the captain from the defense to listen in on the offensive guys huddle just so we can have a competitive game, so they know what play is coming. See if you can stop it. Why don't we do that?
It's a safety thing.
Just think about one of the great plays in the Super Bowl history, in my opinion, was the Saints and the Colts. At a halftime, the Saints caught the whole country off guard with that onside kick. That's gone. That's over. That's never going to happen again in our lifetime because of this stupid ass rule. And it's you've got to announce that you're kicking an onside kick. It's like when baseball took away the intentional walk. You have to announce it, and then they don't. You're taking away all of the old school rules. I hate it. I mean, I don't mind the fact that we're finally getting returns. I'm happy about that because the kickoff had become almost obsolete at this point. Might as well just put the ball on the 25-yard line. But at least now we're getting returns. But it looks so stupid with the kicker by himself back there 30 yards.
The onside kick stuff has bothered me for a while because now it's to the point that's really ridiculous where you do have to announce it. But even prior to that, they eliminated where you could put everyone on one side of the kicker to kick it. You basically knew when the onside kick was coming because everyone would have to, tee the ball up one way. And then if someone just touches the ball and bats it out of the play, a field of play, it's basically there's no re-kick anymore. They went away from re-kicking anything. Do you ever notice that? Like if there's a penalty now, they always enforce a penalty either one way or the other, but they don't ever re-kick. There used to be re-kicks all the time when we were growing up. Even just regular kickoffs. If there's holding on a kickoff, push them back 10 yards, make them kick it again. No, you just move the ball up 10 yards from where you finished.
Yeah, and the whole reason behind all that, the whole reason behind, kicking off from the new spot was because they were trying to limit returns for safety. So now it just goes to show you how much of the safety thing is BS. So now everyone agrees the old kickoff rule even is stupid. Like you said, it makes kickoffs obsolete. It's kind of dumb. And by the way, if you can still pop the ball up and not kick it in the end zone, you have the exact same safety situation. Doesn't change anything. And so, but at least it lowered the amount of kickoffs. Now we're going to be doing this kickoff. You kind of get penalized if the other team doesn't return it almost. But now we're back to full speed collisions with a guy returning the ball. I don't see why not just put it back the way it was. I don't understand how this impacts that. And by the way, I heard someone say, well, there's a rule that a long time coming, we had to get rid of all the injuries on kickoffs. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We didn't even have any returned. Where are the of the 11 returns we had in the NFL last year, was there a bunch of injuries on, so dumb.
Now there's a thing called the landing zone.
Yes. The landing zone.
You have to kick it in the landing zone. Like it's golf. What are we doing with this?
Yeah.
There's also a setup zone. I'm reading this right in front of me. I'm like, look, I don't know what this shit is. I'll watch. I'm gonna tune into the Giants, Lions tomorrow night, but I'll see it for the first time. So I didn't see the Hall of Fame game. But I'm looking at this. I don't know what the hell any of this stuff is. Landing zone, setup zone.
By the way, if you would have tried to tune into the Hall of Fame game too late, you would have found that it had been canceled halfway through because of weather.
That's right.
Again, something that never used to happen in our time. They actually cancel games.
You're right, Scott. I saw that like a freaking baseball game. That's and the Yanks hold on 3-2 and 6. You're like what? Like what?
I found it really ironic that one of the Hall of Famers inducted was Devin Hester, probably the greatest returner of all time, and then they trot out this bullshit kickoff rule. I don't know. Something just didn't seem right for me for that.
Did any useless sideline reporter stick a microphone in his face at the game or at some point and get his thoughts on this kickoff nonsense?
Of course they did.
That's great irony. The guy's putting on a gold jacket for doing just what we took away from the game.
So I didn't expect us to really go off on a tangent on the kickoff, but that was a good discussion. One thing I wanted to bring up, and I was always dead set against the Giants being on Hard Knocks in any capacity, but I will say this: the off-season Hard Knocks, and I'm not saying this just because I'm a Giants fan. I think whatever team is doing the off-season Hard Knocks, it's going to be a great show. There was a lot of insight on what the GM is doing behind the scenes, draft prep, all the free agent wrangling, all that kind of stuff that you sort of miss when you do the training camp one, and certainly the in-season Hard Knocks. So only 5 episodes. I watched the 5 episodes. I'm not sure why I had a lot of people reach out to me and say, your GM's a dork. Why is he wearing a backpack like a 10-year-old? And why is this guy that you think this guy's professional? I'm like, I thought Shane came out of Hard Knocks looking really good. I liked Shane looked good. Dable has a great sense of humor. If anything, it dispelled a lot of the rumors Giant fans have that John Mara runs everything, because Shane basically told John Mara, we're getting rid of Barkley. This is what's happening, and everything else that happened with the Barkley situation. I had a lot of respect now for our GM and our coach after watching Hard Knocks.
Yeah, it's a good call, Scott. No, go ahead, Mike.
I watched it. I wanted to resist it because, we hated the idea that the Giants were going to be on Hard Knocks. But, I agree with you, Scott. The offseason stuff is much better. It was no drama. There was, it was none of that business. No player drama, I should say. There was drama in the show. If you were watching that and didn't know what happened with Barkley, it was kind of interesting to watch all that break down and see how it goes. And, like Scott said, dispelled a lot of rumors about how that went down. I mean, the Giants told him, go look for more money and come back. And if, it was not anything like what people said happened. So I found it interesting. I enjoyed watching it. I did resist it until recently. I said, yeah, I got to do a podcast about this shit. I better know about this show. It's probably going to come up. So, I agree with everything you said. I did. I enjoyed watching it, and I watched it almost like a horror movie, just waiting for some drama to happen or something, but it was all good.
The most interesting part to me was when they brought the quarterbacks in. And the way you could tell Dable's offensive mind is he's quizzing these guys on what to do. And Drake May really looked like he's the part in terms of, at least from the analytical side of going through his reads and progressions, much more so than any of the other quarterbacks there. And I also thought it was interesting that I think there might have been some disagreement between Dable and Shane on which wide receiver was better. Dable clearly liked Neighbors. I think Shane was leaning at least a little bit towards Odunze. But you could see Neighbors and the excitement he's brought to camp already, what they see in him and that explosiveness. I don't want to make comparisons to Beckham right now, because that's, both wide receivers from LSU, both short guys with a lot of burst and things like that. But Neighbors looks the part in the limited time we've seen him.
Yeah, I guess it makes you wonder. And I didn't watch all the episodes like you did, Scott. I watched bits and pieces of it. I did see that part when the quarterbacks were brought in. I thought the same thing. I'm like wondering. It was intense, right? Sort of the he was putting these quarterbacks on the spot a little bit and challenging them as far as reads and things of that sort, pre-snaps and that stuff. And it was hard to follow a little bit, right? As far as what he was looking for, what kind of response he was looking for from these guys, So, and they're nervous going in there in front of these guys, So their first exposure in an NFL, environment like that. But you're right. It did dispel, I guess, some of the thoughts that, and again, I'll blame the sports media, because as far as they report, there's, the Giants there's in management fighting. Shane and Dable hate each other, and the Giants told Barkley to get lost and all that. And you don't know what to believe anymore. You just don't know what to believe. So at least, and you wonder how much of that is for the cameras and stuff. But I think, what they did a pretty good job as far as what the parts that I saw. I was thinking the same thing, Mike, like you said. When the Giants were announced that they'd be on Hard Knocks, I'm like, oh, not that bullshit. I don't want to see the Giants on Hard Knocks. We've kind of seen this bullshit in the past. So, but it seemed like it was pretty well done, and it's really interesting to see what goes on in those private meetings and stuff. So, pretty intense stuff.
One thing I also enjoyed, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but we know it's the 100th anniversary of the Giants. Novak, sorry, we're going on about the Giants and they're only going here. So it's a 100-year anniversary. So they're doing a lot of things for this. They're doing the throwback uniforms. But one thing that they're really doing that I like is that they're doing a segment of the top 100 Giants. And I think it's Giants Huddle, or one of the podcasts is actually doing 10 down all the way down from 100 to 0. So they're doing like 191, then 90 to 81 and so forth. And Bob Papa's he's the announcer basically that's doing this. And he's got different people there, but each segment has a couple of Giants there announcing the players and talking about them. And so it's really interesting. They had Lawrence Tynes, who made the top 100 Giants list, with Rich Soibert breaking things down. And I love Tynes. Tynes is just a funny guy. He's very good when on Twitter. He loves the Giants. And it's funny because he's a Kansas City Chief for the longer period of time, but he retired a Giant. He sticks by the Giant organization. But they also had, he's got the rings too. They also had like Haas on. They had Pepper Johnson. They had Jacobs. They had Seahorn and Corey Webster in the same episode, and they had Jim Burt. And the thing that I took back from all of these guys, and I'm only up to the episode where they've done, I think, up to like the 50th best player, is all those guys, by the way, were in the top 100 in the areas that they were talking about. But the one thing that I took away from that is they all talk about the organization of the Giants and how proud they are to be Giants. Like even a guy like Jim Burt, again, he went to the 49ers at the end of his career, and he talked about once a Giant, always a Giant. Brandon Jacobs just bleeds Giant blue. Seahorn, who, California guy, sort of aloof. He was talking about, his time at the Giants, and they all talk about the Maras and how much family the Giants are. And that's something I can't stand when part of our fan base really denigrates this team because of the history of this organization. And when the players that are playing in this organization come and tell you about the organization and how good it's well run, it speaks volumes to me about ownership. Haas told a great story. So Haas was talking about how the year that he finally got his chance when Sims got hurt, he was about ready to leave the Giants or leave football. He'd been a backup, wasn't getting his shot. He was getting really frustrated. And yet when he took over, he never heard this quote yet, but there was a quote from Banks or one of those guys that said, "No, we're going to be fine with Haas. He's going to lead us, just fine. He's going to do those things." And I think Phil Simms is the one that said, honestly, I don't know if we would have won if I was playing because of the mobility Hostetler showed in that playoff games that I couldn't have brought to the table. And Haas started choking up a little bit, saying, I never heard that. And just the fact that he wanted to leave the Giants at that point, but that the Giants gave him that platform to show his abilities and then move on after that. He still loves the Giant organization. So the Giants' top 100 players, I'm really enjoying right now. Again, I got to get this right. So, talk amongst yourselves while I look up the podcast that it's actually on.
Well, I'm curious to see who you guys.
It's Giants Huddle. So Giants Huddle. Yeah.
Who you guys would think number
Giants
2
Huddle.
would be, because we know who number 1 is.
I would put Eli there, but I don't know if
I was wondering if that's what direction you would go, but
It's almost got to be. Yeah. Thanks for telling us where that was, Scott, because I'm very interested in that, and I haven't seen it.
Well,
and I love Bob Papa. Bob Papa does a great job.
About so obviously the 90 championship, in the Americas game, Chronicle, Haas talks about he talks about that in his interview. Is that that season, 6 weeks. He mentions it during that recap in America, the 1990 championship America's game. Talked about how he was ready to just almost quit football at that point because never was going to get playing time, and he even joked around. It's like when Sims went down, I remember it was the Buffalo Bill game, and then like week 13, it was a nasty, cold, rainy day at Giant Stadium, and Hostetler says, he's like, "Oh, Sims, don't give me this bullshit. Like, get up." He goes, "I've never been colder in my career coming off the bench." Giants went on to lose that game, only by less than a touchdown, whatever. But of course, we know what happened all after that. The amazing run that Hostetler took.
People forget Hostetler came in on goal line situations as a receiver. He did some fake punts. He was
he begged his way on special teams. I saw that on that same show that Cardone's talking about. Hostetler actually blocked a punt one time. Yeah, because he had begged his way into special teams and
anything to get on the field.
Yeah. Parcells loves that kind of guy.
No question.
So Novak, any take on what's going on in Jets camp so far? I mean, has the dick shown up yet?
I really don't have a take other than that. It's all they talk about is the dick, and he makes one, pass with shorts on, and it's like God's gift to quarterback play. Same thing as last year, right? Everything revolves around this guy. There's not much. We're not going to talk about predictions and everything else, but there hasn't been a whole lot going on. They've got a game this weekend against the Commanders. I don't really give a crap about it. I'm not going to watch. I mean, I'll watch it, but not much going on other than all the dick talk and Garrett Wilson, their connection, and they've been arguing, and I don't know. That there's just not much. It's kind of look. It's better than last year when we had Hard Knocks and all that crap going on. I'm much happier this year with it under the radar. No one's talking about them. It's much better this year.
You do have controversy there with Hassan Reddick a little bit, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little annoying. I kind of blame Reddick on this because I have to imagine that he was briefed about this trade and he probably said something along the lines of, "Sure, I'll go there. I'm, whatever." The Jets would not have made this trade thinking that he was going to hold out like this. I really don't think so. And if they did, they're just being foolish because they gave away a 3rd-round draft choice. So he'll get signed at some point, probably in a couple of weeks, but he'll get signed. But it sets a bad precedent now, right? Because the problem with the Jets is next year you've got all these guys that are on the end of their rookie contracts, like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson. All these guys are going to come up, and they've got to figure out a way to pay all these guys. And watching what happens with Reddick is going to be a big factor.
Sounds like preseason football right there.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say, what are you guys looking for in the preseason right now? I mean, I go into the preseason every year with one thing in mind.
If the Bengals are going to play their starters.
Well, that's secondary, but we do have a lot of questions about preseason coming up. But I mean, I go to preseason with one thing: no injuries.
Yep.
And you're always going to have someone get injured. You just hope it's like the 3rd string center or something like that. But I still not a huge fan of starters playing. Might have bit us in the ass last year when we didn't play our starters, but you never know if that's really the case because there are teams that didn't play their starters and ended up doing really well. So I just don't want to see any injuries. So, if someone that says, "What are you looking for with the Lions?" I wouldn't mind if the first team plays a series or two, but if they don't, I really don't care. I mean, it gives us a chance to see Drew Lock or DeVito.
Yeah, that's what it is. Outside of injuries, of course, it's you really want to see the backup quarterbacks. I mean, that's what really the preseason has become anyway. And we had a couple of fun games last year actually in the preseason, but yeah, it means less and less. I don't know that it ever meant much at all. Preseason is one time where I do like to watch other teams, not just the Giants, because you get to see some of the guys who were drafted and stuff. But outside of that, it's like, just make it to the season. Don't suffer a devastating injury. Let's see what the backup quarterbacks look like. I don't think there's much you can tell. They there's certainly, in my experience anyway, there's not much you can tell about defense. Nobody's blitzing, or when they do, it's with the total backups in. No one's giving away any sort of scheme or anything like that. Everything's very vanilla. So you can't, and so vice versa, you can't really tell if the offensive line's playing well or not, because what are they really even being challenged at this point? It's quarterbacks. That's what you want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Preseason's bizarre.
It's just weird.
It's just
totally
weird. It's the strangest looking football as far as the NFL, as longtime NFL fans. The preseason is just so strange. Wins and losses don't really matter. I used to say you want to win at least one of these games just to feel good, and it means nothing. So I couldn't tell you one snap of our preseason from last year, but I can tell you what, I certainly remember the 40-to-dick fucking thrashing we got from the Cowboys at home on week 1. So whatever we did in the preseason, what I want to see in the preseason is the opposite of whatever we did last year, because we weren't ready to play competitive football week 1. So whatever the Giants did last year, change that. So I think we talk about this every year, guys. Preseason, you want to see somewhat of a decent looking offense, move the ball, look like you're a cohesive unit, and the other stuff. Yeah, we know the injuries, all that, avoid all that stuff. But I don't know. You want to see, and maybe you want to see like a couple of your first round pick. It'd be nice to see Neighbors have some. I hate this term, but like flashes of brilliance. Maybe at least a couple things here and there in a game or two. Who knows how many snaps these guys are even going to play? It's not like it used to be, guys. Even not too long ago when you played four weeks of preseason, the starters would play at least, a half of one game, maybe even more. We don't see that anymore. So I don't know, Scott. It's hard to say what to look for in the preseason. It's just difficult.
I want one thing, and I want to get emotional about this, but I want a 3 times in a row Snoopy Bowl championship. That's all I really care about. I mean, if I get that Super Bowl, division championship, I don't care. I want to win that. I want that Snoopy Bowl again, 3 times in a row.
By the way, before coming on here, I saw a clip of Thibodeau having a sack on the 4th and 10 against the Jets with 1:25 left on the clock, sacking the Jets at their own 22-yard line in a game the Giants were winning 13-10 last year, and we ended up losing that. I don't know what the probability is of losing a game where you take over control at the other team's 22 or whatever with 1:22 left in the game and you still lose.
The game-winning sack. That wasn't the game winner somehow.
It's unbelievable. That stupid win probability meter. What were we sitting at? We were too big. We didn't notice it because the 3 of us were jumping around like losers, while Novak was there drowning his sorrows in his beers, and then the comedy was 20 minutes, not even. 3 minutes later, it's a complete opposite. That was one of the most ridiculous turn of event, meaningless wins or losses for either one of us.
Horrible game I've ever seen in my life. I think
horrible game. I wish it had ended in a tie.
It should have.
One thing I'll say, Mike always talks about the offensive line play. The Giants this year, with Evan Neal on PUP right now, I want to see in the preseason where you have a line with Thomas, Illuminor, Runyon, Schmitz, who's been hurt too. Yeah. And I don't know who's going to be at the final guard spot, but I want to see how they hold up. It looks like in practice, we finally have glimmers of hope that they're doing well. And, is Carmen Brasillo coming over from the Raiders doing wonders here, or do we finally have a formula here? So I'm with Big Mike on this one. I'm looking for offensive line play and seeing how solid we can be.
I'll tell you, I don't know if I'm looking for that in the preseason necessarily, Scott, but Illuminor, Schmitz, Runyon, Thomas, and then right now they've got Stinney penciled in at the other guard. That is an NFL offensive line. I mean, solid. I don't know if Neal is healthy, does he
come back?
Does he crack this lineup? I don't know. I don't know. He certainly hasn't been better than Illuminor in his career. So do we try to plug him back in at the right guard? I mean, there's been some talk about that. Either way, every line doesn't have to have 5 studs on it. Thomas, Runyon, Schmitz, and Illuminor. That's an NFL offensive line.
Yeah.
And in one of my predictions, I will lean more into it this year. We're going to have a better running football team without Saquon Barkley. And it has really very little to do with Saquon Barkley. It's really, this team is
giving us a sneak preview. Is that it?
Yeah, a little sneak preview. Yeah. Well, we're not going to see 27 guys in the box every play. We've got a better offensive line, even if we do. Things are going to change for the Giants offense this year.
So looking around the league in the preseason, one thing that will be very interesting to me, and we were talking about this a little bit offline, but the Justin Fields love is already ratcheting up in Pittsburgh. It's almost like Russell Wilson doesn't exist. Justin Fields is back to being the MVP candidate that he was in week 6 of last year. I'm really interested to see where this goes in the preseason.
That's the games I'll be watching. Find me the Steeler game.
I hope Fields wins the starting job. That way he can come in week 1 and flop. I really do.
Yep.
I want to see him win the job in preseason and then just shit the bed start when the regular season starts, when the games mean something, and see what happens.
The whole is Russell Wilson going to be able to hold him off? Hold him off? He was traded for a bag of balls. What are we talking about?
Hold him off.
I mean, come on. We've got to start taking notes of who says what so that we can watch when these guys, because I almost got it this morning and I forgot to write it down who it was, but we've got to take note of who says that Justin Fields is going to win the quarterback spot. He's going to push Russell Wilson. Come on. What are we doing here?
The other thing I'm looking at is to see what kind of ineptitude the Panthers are going to have in the preseason. So they already screwed things up. So they used to do camp at Wofford, which was something Jerry Richardson had put in place. It's a college just outside of it's actually in Spartanburg, South Carolina. They did away with this, so their camp is now in Charlotte. They used to always do a fan fest. This year they did fan fest down in Clemson, and it looked like there might have been 20 people in attendance.
Was Sir Purr there?
I'm sure Sir Purr was there, but they were charging $5 to go to a fan fest in a city that's closer to the Georgia border than it is the North Carolina border. And I'm just wondering, does Tepper have any clue of what's going on at all?
No. I mean, I think they're guaranteed to be the worst team in the league, right?
It's coming into a new season. This is the worst I've ever felt about any one single team.
Agreed.
I can't remember a team in recent memory that's been this bad coming out of the gate.
And I don't know if he'll be good, but Canales as the coach just sounds like he's in over his head. Every press conference, he's trying to break things down in the minutia and detail. And I'm like, dude, no one gives a crap about, what formation you're running or anything like that. They just want you to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be here a year.
What's their preseason win total over under Panthers? Does anyone know it?
Preseason, they probably go undefeated.
They probably will do well. Yeah, because
I think he means their.
No, I mean what's it now for the regular season? What's their saying?
Oh, I think their over under is 4.5.
4.5, yeah.
4.5.
Yeah, I think they're under. I would bet the under there.
I would bet the under. I don't really even have any buyer's remorse about that.
It might be 5.5 on some sites, but I saw 4.5 a month ago.
4.5. Well, we're on their schedule. We know that.
Mm-hmm. In Germany.
Don't lose that game. Don't lose that game.
It's 5.5 right now.
5.5? I would definitely go under.
I think the Giants are at 6.5. So I would take the over on the Giants.
Oh, I would take the over there.
The under on the Panthers. Pet peeves.
You get plus 5. You get plus 520 odds for betting that the Panthers go to the postseason. Plus 520.
You might as well just burn your money on camera. So it's the first pet peeve segment of the new season. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start with Mike.
All right, good, because I have one that other people are going to take. So I'm very, and I didn't have a backup. So my pet peeve this year, and I'll have to say I don't know. I mean, I've seen it in past years, but it seems at an epidemic level this year. And coming into watching, the preseason, everything, and maybe it's just social media going nuts, but has there ever been more care and attention paid to what players do in shorts and t-shirts while they're practicing? I mean, I can't even tell you the number of posts like on Twitter and Instagram of clips of, of quarterbacks in shorts throwing 20-yard outs to someone going, this offense is going to be unstoppable this year. It's like, it's like, what is going on? And it wasn't any one team. It wasn't any one site. It was rampant. And, it goes in the opposite too. Jones throws an incomplete pass. This guy's $40 million. I'm like, it's a pass in practice.
He's
dude.
wearing fucking like flip-flops.
Yeah.
There's a pass where Jones overthrows like the running back going out for a screen pass.
Yeah.
And the Twitter went absolutely just berserk over. Like, this guy is fucking cooked.
And I saw one where, McCarthy throws a long ball for Minnesota to someone who's not even covered, and they kind of have to slow down, but, they catch it over their shoulder. And the list of comments from Vikings fans under that were just off the, look at in stride. I'm like, no, not in stride, uncovered,
in shorts,
in shorts, jogging. I've noticed it this year more so than any other, and maybe it's been something that's just sort of been creeping up on me. But yeah, man, putting so much weight, and there's people who do camp breakdowns. Like, they go to the camp and they watch it and they take notes and they like list out the plays, and they're like, Jones went 17 of 25 today, and then they have yards, and I'm like, well, what do you mean yards? Like, no one's getting tackled. How do you know? Everyone just jogs to the end zone after the play. So.
The Giants had 371 yak yards today. Yeah, because it's not a live drill. They're just catching and running.
It's so I don't know where that came from, but something to keep an eye on in the years ahead. I mean, pretty soon, just like everything else, we'll be betting on that pretty soon. Be gambling over under on Jones completions in camp today.
Guys, I went on a golf trip a couple weeks ago, and actually it was last weekend, and we were watching the Olympics coverage, and there were guys like betting on what score the divers would get. Over under 80 points.
That's almost as good as Kramer betting on departures and arrivals.
Novak, pet peeve?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to be angry about with the NFL right now. So I'm not going the NFL route, because I got to be honest, I'm going to be angry about a lot this year. I just have a feeling it's coming. So I'm going to go with what I've been angry about over the last few months since we haven't been talking, and that is, I play a lot of golf when in the summer, and but that's not my pet peeve. My pet peeve is, and it focuses on our gender, because I think women are pretty good at this. We are the most unself-aware people on the planet. So a couple examples. Number one, I'm playing golf like a couple weeks ago, and it's like 100 degrees out. You remember that time frame like 3 weeks ago when it was like 100 every day? And I got these guys in front of me that hit the ball in the middle of the fairway, and it's golf path only. And they walk to the ball and they take their viewfinder out and they try to see where the shot is. Take your club with you. You don't need to and then they walk back to the cart and they grab their club and they hit the ball, and then they get on the next tee and these guys are duffing it 10 yards and they're hitting from the tips. Just be more self-aware. Just stop.
Know your role.
Yes, come on. You're not any good. Just hit the ball, get your clubs, move. I'm sweating waiting for these guys to hit. So there was that one example. Then the other one, I'm at the gym, and this guy is running with like bricks in his feet, like bam, 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 bam. Like the whole gym is looking at this guy like, just go away. Like you don't need to be running like you've got concrete in your feet. So, and the other day he came up next to me, and I looked at him and I go, absolutely not. And I walked away because I did not want to be next to this guy. And then the last one, we experienced this. When you go to a bar, and guys are the worst at this. Like if you're with your friends and you're watching a game and you're talking, don't butt in. Don't talk to us. We don't. Right?
That happens to us all the time when we're in a group of four.
Yes, and these guys are on our shoulders, wanting to talk. I'm and you give them the half answer, yeah, right. And you be aware, we don't want to talk to you. Just go away. So my pet peeve is unaware guys, and there's so many of us out there. Women are good at this. They know when they're inconveniencing someone. We have no clue.
My wife made an observation the other day, nothing to do with unaware or anything like that, but a Bon Jovi song or something came on, and I started doing the air guitar, and she's like, "Why do boys always do air guitar?" And I thought to myself, that's true. You never see a girl rocking out with an air guitar, but I pull the air guitar out all the time. It's not like I ever played guitar, but I do pull it out.
You do it at the fantasy draft,
I'm doing the chords and everything.
Soft rock still coming on at the
we always have Toto.
Yacht rock.
He breaks out the air guitar for Air Supply all the time.
Air Supply.
I'm
Toto.
all out of love. Toto's underrated band.
So is Air Supply. Love them.
Oh, I set this up so I go after Cardone. So Cardone, pet peeve.
Yeah, I before I get into mine, I got to be. I'm a little envious of Novak's lifestyle here. The guy's golfing. He's going to the gym. He's he's just...
That was kind of douchey. I didn't mean it to come out that way. I was just trying to.
Dude. I'm just.
He's going to the Globo gym.
But
it's the why.
It's funny.
It's not anything special.
Well, summertime, right? So mine is connected to football, but it's I'll explain in a minute here. So. This time of year, you're without football on, I'm watching other sports, right? So I follow the Yankees. Scott, you're a big Yankee fan, so the Yankees are, in my mind, they're fraudulent. They're a fraudulent team, but so I'm been watching a little bit of the Yankees, in the last month or so, and I know you guys are familiar with this. So in baseball now on TV, they have that invisible strike zone. Right, that hovers over the plate. It's this invisible line. So I'm watching whatever game. I don't know if it was the Yankees. Doesn't matter. I was watching a game the other night, and the announcers were going wild every time the pitch was barely slicing or hitting a sliver of this invisible line. And the announcer's like, "Oh, come on, it's on the line. You got to call that a strike. What are you talking about?" And if anything in baseball, balls and strikes are the most subjective. The strike zone moves, right? So how this invisible line is set in stone that if the ball grazes this invisible AI invented thing. But yet, my pet peeve now, how is that so official? But yet, in football, the fucking yellow line that has been in place for the first down marker for 2 decades now, the announcers have to remind us viewers at home, our line is unofficial there. The yellow line is unofficial. Well, guess what? That damn yellow line, it is official because whenever you see the ball on that thing is spot dead on, that yellow line. But we got to hear every single time that yellow line's not official now at home, but yet in baseball, the strike zone does move depending on who the umpire is. Every guy's strike zone is different. Yet that line, if the ball grazes the line, it's what the hell? How could you? This umpire is horrible. You got to call that a strike, but not the yellow first down marker in football, which has been around for 30 years. But this baseball box is, as far as I know, has only been around for a few years, guys, right? So I'm watching this game the other night, and these announcers were going wild because the guy's begging for a strike call when he wants ones, that are barely touching the corners on this thing. And I kept thinking about the unofficial, official yellow line in football, and that became my pet peeve. I'm like, you know what? I wrote that down. I'm like, that yellow line is spot on, but we got to hear for 30 years. You watch, the first time we hear it, I'm going to remember this rant, and we'll bring it up again. I'm like, there it is, unofficial yellow line.
The constant reminder that it's unofficial.
Constant reminder.
It is just, they just drum it into your head.
It's like the overtime rules.
It's unofficial.
Yeah. Anyway,
let's remind everyone of the overtime rules.
But yet, I'm telling you guys, watch a baseball game with that little box there. If God forbid the ball clips that thing, again, it's this invisible thing, and and the announcers are going wild. I was cracking up watching this game the other night. The announcers were beside themselves that they weren't getting the outside corner.
Well, baseball officiating will increase exponentially with Angel Hernandez retiring.
Yeah, that's true. That guy. Run him out of.
It's funny too because, when officials or umpires or referees or guys are known to fans, it's not a good thing. Like Cowboy Joe West was an asshole. You know what? First off, he's an umpire. His name's Cowboy Joe West. It's like, what the hell's going on here? They start stuff up. Dick Bavetta or whatever from the NBA. Like he'd always get the big guy's face and stuff and be pointing at him. I don't want to see that. I just want to see the players. I don't want to see the ref.
Well, remember when the NHL used to have the linesmen and the refs used to have their names on the back of their jerseys? Yeah. I mean, when you talk about death threats at the arena, Andy Van Hellemond was the one I always remember. I always remember Van Hellemond, right? Van Hellemond, I think, officiated multiple games on the same night. There were multiple Van Hellemonds skating around in different arenas. He's the only guy I ever remember. But then someone finally said, "Yeah, I think it's a good idea to take the names off the jerseys there."
Yeah, that's probably a good plan.
Yeah.
So, by the way, one of the Giants that made the all-time top 100 list was Cal Hubble, I think his name is. Played in the 30s. I think it's Cal Hubble, something like that. Anyway, he's in the NFL Hall of Fame and in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but he's in the Baseball Hall of Fame as an umpire.
Huh.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting
stat.
So when he left football, he went into baseball, but became an umpire. So I just throw that out there. So my rant sort of dovetails into what Cardone was talking about on the AI side of things. So, I'm watching the Olympics. The Olympics are going on, and once every 4 years, I really do get jazzed about the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Watch some of these events that I haven't seen in a long time. I love the swimming, but they've been running this commercial about Al Michaels giving updates on the Olympics. And it's like, tune into Peacock and listen to Al Michaels give updates. And I'm listening to Al Michaels' voice, and there's something that's off on it. It sounds like Al Michaels, but it sounds a little bit robotic. Well, I watched the commercial a couple more times, and I saw Al Michaels, powered by AI, is giving the updates on the Olympics. So I don't think it's Al Michaels giving the updates. I think it's his voice that's being synthesized to do the updates. And I'm thinking to myself, where are we going with this? Like, are we going to bring Bob Shepard back? Like Carson Spills Dorsett, I just don't know what we do with this AI stuff. And it's not so much the sports things. There's also a commercial running right now. It's Microsoft, whatever their assistant is, where it will help you write like presentations and programs and things like that. So you put in the topic and it spits out a presentation. How many times am I going to be at work and some schmuck is showing me a presentation that AI has created? So we're going to have Al Michaels AI that I got to try and figure out, is this Al Michaels? Is this robotic Al Michaels? Is this, fake Al Michaels? Presentations. I just don't know where we're going with AI. Like, to me, AI should be used for things much broader or good than mimicking someone's voice or likeness or presentations for work.
No doubt.
Cat's out of the bag, man. It's long gone.
Well, I might as well.
People who could not write at work 10 years ago are suddenly writing the most beautiful 18-page things I've ever seen. I wonder where that's coming from.
Right.
Well, I might as well come clean. This is Novak AI. The real Novak is out at a bar right now, just so you guys know. So.
I'm going to send my AI next time.
By the way, the Giant that I was talking about with the ref, the umpire in the Giant, it's Cal Hubble. I think I called him Hubbard or something. It's Hubble.
You said Hubble.
You were pretty close.
Oh, did I say Hubble?
You did.
All right.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be that if we start going down that road, that's a slippery slope. I really hope that doesn't happen. Although, how great would it be if they did an AI Madden and Summerall for a game?
Would you
not watch that? I would watch it.
I'd be conflicted. I really would. It's like,
I don't know, man. That would be pretty cool. I mean, if it's a throwaway Jaguars Titans game or something, Madden Summerall.
Pretty cool.
I'm fine with anything that's aired on Peacock being AI generated.
That's
Just
fair.
adds to the shamlific thing of it being on Peacock.
Sham.
So speaking of Peacock, we got lots of questions this week. We'll save Peacocks for last, but fan of the show Joe had some questions that are sort of comments. I was calling them question comments. We were going back and forth on text about this, but he was talking about the fighting in the camp, much like we opened up the show with. And he said it sets the energy, but let's say that, it's done. We're in the regular season. It's a 1st and goal. We got to punch it in to win the game. Let's show the fight then. So it's more of a comment, but that's true. I mean, I really like the energy you're seeing in camp, but does that translate and pull over to the regular season when you really need it? And that's what I hope that the fight and the energy does boil over into those times when our teams need to make that touchdown at the end of the game.
I see what he's saying. So he's saying, do we really have that kind of fight? Let's see it in a game in the regular season. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Agreed, Joe.
Yeah.
And then he also asks, when does Locke get a real look? And, does he get a chance? And I'm going to say this, Locke will play in the preseason. I don't think that he's going to get a legitimate chance on his own merits. I think he'll be able to play when Jones inevitably has an injury during the season, but Drew Lock is our backup right now. And I don't see that changing. And nor, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to see that change. I think this is Daniel Jones's year. He either makes it or he's gone. And as Giant fans, we should all hope that he does okay, because if he doesn't, we're going to be miserable come October,
Yeah, I don't see Jones being, unless I right now, I don't see him being benched for any purpose unless the guy's that horrific. But to your point, Scott, or to your comment, yeah, it would take Jones getting injured, and let's hope that doesn't happen either. This is it for Jones, right? You just said it. This is it. I mean, he's if he doesn't, show that he can lead this team to success, then we'll be having a different conversation at the end of the year. But I don't see Drew Lock just getting a chance in there just because Jones, at the hands of a benching. I don't think that's going to happen.
And even if Jones does play lights out this year, we really almost have to have a deep playoff run because, his contract starts to accelerate in the future years. So, you have to wonder how long you can keep him legitimately.
Yeah.
Jones would have to really stink it up for Locke to get a look. Because it's, I know a lot of players, what's it going to hurt? Let's start this guy. We're 1-6, whatever, it's just, I guess sometimes it happens like that, but we saw we had the benefit of having Hard Knocks. We saw, look, they looked for another quarterback, but they weren't ready to sell the farm for another quarterback, and I think that was the right decision to do that. I think if the microphones were on all the time on Hard Knocks, I think we would have heard that they were pretty much in love with Drake May. I don't think anywhere near as much in love with Drake May as Ernie Accorsi was with Eli Manning. But, if it were, I think, I don't know, what was that last phone call, Scott, I think it was right on draft day when he called the Patriots the last time, and they were looking like, they were looking for like a Ricky Williams type of deal to trade that pick. Jones is the guy. He's the guy now. He's got weapons. He's got a better offensive line. In years past, we've seen when he stays healthy, he plays well. Locke's there for an emergency, not as a potential starter.
Yeah. I'm not going to expand on the point about Hard Knocks because Peacock asks a question about that a little bit later. But yeah, I agree with all that. So friend of the show, Mike, asked a couple questions. He said, sticking with the DJ theme, and I love the way he words this, should DJ parentheses 8, like I think I know which number Jones is, but I'm not sure exactly if there's another DJ.
I like the clarification.
Mm-hmm. Should he play a series in the preseason opener? I'm torn on this. I mean, to me, it's one or the other. I mean, I don't care one way. he got a lot of reps in the practice against the Lions, and from what I've heard, he did decently against the Lions. And I think the coaches put more credence in the practices, the joint practices, than they do the preseason games. But I like to see him get back in the swing of things. But people have to remember he's recovering from an ACL. We don't have to have him out on the field in unnecessary situations before the start of the year. I fine with camp, fine with practice, but I want to limit his exposure to hits as much as we can before the regular season starts. That's my take on it.
Yeah, same. I don't think he should be in there tomorrow. I mean, there's 3 of these preseason games. Probably not tomorrow night. I don't think he will. He won't see a snap tomorrow night. I don't think. I don't want him to be out there. To the point you just said, Scott. You got 2 more preseason games. He'll have a couple series in there, and that's all he'll need. But right now, just the practices and the drills and are plenty for him right now to get his work in right now. So he doesn't need to be in a live preseason game right now.
Agreed. Yeah. No need.
And then his second question is sort of, we touched upon this before with Cardone, but what's the opinion of DJ getting in the face of a Detroit defender and having that scuffle in practice, and the Giants' general feistiness during this week against the Lions? What's the take on that? I think Mike summed it up perfectly earlier, just saying these are competitive guys on a field together, and there's going to be friction and fights, and let's not make too much of it. But
yeah, I like Joe's point. Wonderful, DJ, you're feisty. Okay, team, you're showing some fervor, as our friend Cardone would say.
Fervor. Yes.
Carry it over to week 1. That's all that matters. Just beat up, get in someone's face week 1.
Yeah. Again, I didn't see much from DJ in the at least in the videos I saw, but man, he needs to step it up on every facet, right? Leadership, being vocal, being a voice, being a leader of that offense, and if it's shows in getting a little feistiness, then I'd much rather see that than he needs to break out of his personality a little bit and show some fervor, right, Mike? Fervor. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I just to circle back on Daniel Jones. I mean, like, Drew Lock started some games in the NFL and played well.
Yeah.
Jones is coming off an ACL, and he never gets, people just like to throw him in the ditch. They don't like to talk about his injuries very much, but people need to pay attention to things like Daniel Jones coming off an ACL and Drew Lock coming to the Giants. There's no quarterback competition with the Giants. I don't even know if it was technically open to one, but there's no one's talking about Drew Lock potentially starting this year. Yeah. Coaches and people in the know that Daniel Jones is better than most people think he is.
I've had this conversation with a couple Giant fans in the offseason that wanted Drew Lock. They always talk about Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito or someone like that having an open competition. And I'm like, guys, NFL teams do not want open competitions for their starting quarterback role.
Yeah.
It's not a good situation. We're sort of seeing it in the Pittsburgh situation with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. You don't want to have a situation where your starter has a guy behind him breathing down his neck, because it never works out. I can't think of a situation where it worked out well in the NFL, to be honest with you.
Parcells said it best. He said, if you've got 2 quarterbacks, you've got no quarterbacks, because
right.
you don't have the guy. You don't have the guy. It's not like we brought Justin Fields in here to challenge, for that role.
Holding that guy off. Thank God we don't have to.
Yeah.
Have,
Jones having
Fields breathing down Jones's neck for the starting job. Yeah, that'd
have been rough.
Yeah. I did think it was interesting early on in the offseason when people would always do possible landing spots for people, and Justin Fields was being rumored to go to the Giants. I'm like, the Giants are like the last team that's going to want to have Justin Fields, to be honest with you.
That would have been terrible and awesome at the same time.
That would have been so fun to watch, you guys, if that were the case.
Oh my gosh.
I'm glad we don't have to go with that.
Yeah. My goodness. We might have had to cancel the podcast.
So in our Peacock corner for this week, Peacock's got a couple questions, 3 questions. One of them Jets oriented. The first one: did the Giants hurt themselves with the Barkley situation on Hard Knocks? And I have heard similar. Like I said before, there's some of my friends have talked to me about Joe Shane. He comes off as being not up on everything, a little clueless. I thought Shane looked good in Hard Knocks, and I thought the whole Barkley situation was basically this: the Giants put a number out there and said that's what they're going to pay. If Barkley can get more, great, go out and get more. He went and got more. They came back and Giants didn't meet it. I don't think that's a bad situation. I think the Giants themselves set a number for what the running back position would be, and just walked away at that point. And then they signed Singletary for a little bit less, a lot less than what Barkley was making.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were able to put that money elsewhere. So Barkley was on the list of the top 100 Giants of all time, which I thought was interesting because there were other running backs on there. Ron Johnson was on there. Tiki Barber's on there. Brandon Jacobs is on there. Bradshaw's on there. I'm sure Hampton will be on there. He hasn't been yet in the episodes I listened to. But to me, Barkley, I loved as a Giant. But at some point, you have to say, is he going to stay here or is he not? I think Barkley had made the decision to move on from what I saw from the Hard Knocks. I don't know if an outsider like Novak thought the same thing, but that's what I thought.
No, he was ready to go.
Yeah,
I think no
warm fuzzies there.
No, I think the Eagles, if he's on any other team, I don't think they pay as much for him as they did. In other words, because he's a Giant, I think that was the Eagles a little bit sort of tweaking you guys a little bit because it was he was a Giant.
Yeah,
I think so.
Within the division, they improved themselves, and in their eyes, they weakened a competitor. I mean, you'd pay a little bit more to do that. Mm-hmm. But this probably isn't one for one, and this won't surprise anybody. Maybe some listeners, but not you guys, because you've heard me say similar things over the years. If my choice is between Barkley or this offensive line and Brian Burns and having Devin Singletary, I might pick what we have now. Yeah. I know that's not exactly a 1-to-1 in real life, a 1-to-1 situation, but there's no question that we have Barkley and Burns. We probably couldn't have signed 2 good offensive linemen if we still had Barkley. Yeah. So, we'll see. I've put myself out there on this running game and Barkley thing. I think we're going to be better at the line of scrimmage. I think we're going to look better overall without Barkley. Now, if you could take this team and put Barkley in place of Devin Singletary, that there's no question. I'm not saying that Barkley's not a better player. I'm just saying that with by not spending those dollars, we made other people. We were able to address more positions with higher level guys.
Don't you have that second year back from Oklahoma though?
We have Gray. We also have a guy that we have Tyrone Tracy Jr.
Tyrone Tracy,
who's from Purdue. Shout out to Greg Fiato. But the Tyrone Tracy, they're looking at as being a possible third down back or change of pace back as well as a kick returner. Now that the new kick return rules are in place.
Mm-hmm.
I was a few months back when we lost Barkley. Of course, I was pissed, mostly because he went to the Eagles, like Novak, you were saying, which was most upsetting. But I've kind of transitioned now that we're closer to the season, and Mike, I think you're alluding to this where I'm in the now, like, all right, I'm in the let's see mode. Let's see what happens. Let's see. Barkley's gone. He's not part of this Giant team anymore. I wish him well. He was great when he was here. I love the guy, but now he's not part of the team anymore. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to worry about Barkley anymore. Let's focus on what we have here. We've got a lot of new players. It's the start of a new season. I'm trying to jump on some of your optimism here, but no, let's see what happens. Instead of just being pissed. I mean, I know a lot of Giant fans are still upset about Barkley, and rightfully so. He felt he was kind of the face of the franchise, and it seemed like he bled Giant blue. Maybe he would be here for his whole career. Didn't work out that way. That's the business side of this game. Now, sometimes doesn't always work out. But I'm now looking forward. I think Singletary. I've heard some good things about him in camp. The guy he has a a penchant for staying healthy. So that's we need that in the backfield there. So I'm willing to be all in with Singletary and his offensive line. So yeah, let's focus on that. I'm not going to think about Saquon Barkley anymore. Can't. Doesn't do any good.
I don't think the Eagles fans are gonna embrace him like you might think too. Like for example, I mean, one of my most hated players of all time was Jason Taylor. He was a Dolphin because I hate the Dolphins with a passion. I hate the Dolphins, and he played for the Jets his last couple of years at the end of his career, and I never embraced him as a Jet. I always considered him a Dolphin, and he was like just another guy with a number on his back. Like I didn't root against him, but I just never embraced the guy. I think the Eagle fans will feel the same way. I do.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
And if history repeats itself, not many Giants have gone to Philadelphia and done really well. Steve Smith was basically cooked when he got there. Bavaro didn't really do anything when he got there. I will say this. A lot of the Giant fans' perception is because he went to the Eagles. If he went to the Texans or he went to the Browns, or even if he went to, let's say, the Rams, I don't think you'd see this level of hatred towards Saquon Barkley, who was nothing but a great Giant and always rooted for the franchise. I think it's because he went to the Eagles.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, we know already he's going to have the 160-yard 3-touchdown game against us. So, we're already factoring.
At least Boston won't do anything.
Yeah, we're already factoring that in. So, I think I know Bavaro scored against us at least once, and back then I knew that was going to happen. Like if I could have bet $1 million before that game started that he'd have scored a touchdown, I'd have bet it. You knew he was gonna.
No doubt.
By the way, it's good that your friend put the 8 after DJ, because we do have another DJ on the roster.
DJ Davidson?
Yeah, we have. So we needed. We could have been talking. He could have been talking about the demeanor of our third string nose tackle. You never know.
Glad we had that, cleared up.
Yeah.
So Peacock's second question, we sort of touched upon this a little bit, but how did Jones feel seeing the love for the other QBs in Hard Knocks? I know that Dable was talking about Daniels in the draft. We saw the sequence with May calling out the plays and things like that. And my takeaway from this, and I think they've asked Jones about this since then, Jones has said, look, he goes, I have a job. I have to do this job. And if I don't do this job at a high level, it won't be my job anymore. I think he's taking a very pragmatic approach at this. It's probably motivating him because the Giants were looking at other options. We know that. And I don't blame the Giants for looking at other options. You have a quarterback who's in the 6th year, who's been hurt, inconsistent. You gave him a big contract, but you have to plan for the future too. So to me, I think Jones has handled it like he has throughout his career well, and just said, this is what's motivated me, and we'll go from here.
First of all, I'm still stunned that I just heard the number. Like, he's in his 6th year. God damn, that seems like a long time.
He's played about the
I can't believe this is year 5 of our podcast. So
we've been talking about this guy. I know, this is right. We've been along for the whole ride with this guy. And every year we talk about the same thing.
We don't know what we have with Daniel Jones.
We don't know what we have. If he played behind a better line, he's actually pretty good. Then, you know what? I think this guy sucks. He's from Duke. Nothing good comes from Duke. I don't know what to say about this guy. I don't.
I know. It's
6 years later.
I don't know if I like him, hate him. I'm indifferent. I don't know. I don't know what to feel about this guy.
Yeah. Who
he gives you nothing.
It's an interesting question because most quarterbacks don't get to see into the room with the GM and the coach are talking about other quarterbacks. So right. So it really is. It's an interesting thing. I knowing Jones' demeanor, which is very much like Eli's, I really doubt that bothers him. But it's a fair question and it's a good question. And I'll bet if you ask those same questions of Jones, I bet he could answer them faster than Drake May did.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this too. In watching Hard Knocks, Shane actually goes to Jones and tells him about the quarterbacks that are coming in. So he didn't want Jones to be blindsided, walking into the facility and all of a sudden there's a bunch of quarterbacks in a room talking about strategy and stuff like that. I think that's a really good. I think one thing I like about Shane is that he's very communicative. Like he's talking not just to the players, but he's very communicative with John Mara. He's very communicative with Dable. Here's what we want to do. Here's the situation with Saquon right now. We heard John Mara saying Hard Knocks, I'm going to lose sleep over this, but he still pulled the trigger or didn't pull the trigger and let Saquon walk. Those are decisions a GM has to make that define him.
No, based on, even if people would just be fair, if people would just take off the Giants glasses or the hatred of Giants glasses or whatever, and just be fair, Shane, the Giants really didn't have a choice.
No,
they really didn't.
Nope.
They really didn't. You can sit there and say, how do the Giants let Barkley go? You don't let players like that go. Well, you know what? You do sometimes. It happens. Barkley had bad luck. He comes around as a very talented running back at a time where you can't put a whole bunch of your money on your roster at the running back position, especially not one who's had trouble staying healthy. It's the only decision he could have made, really, for what Barkley was asking. The other thing people think, right, when they watch Hard Knocks, they think they're watching like an episode of Big Brother, like the camera's on all the time and they see everything that's happening all the time. And it's, there was probably, who knows how many hours of footage that they crammed down into like 4. And even then, believe me, Joe Shane and Dable and those guys, you only heard what they wanted you to hear. There was no secret moments caught on camera. It's people just are stupid.
My question was, where was Kafka in all this?
Yeah, they did show Kafka every once in a while.
Not that much, though. Not
a lot. But
like the only I didn't watch the whole thing, but I remember thinking, like, is Kafka like that guy that get like at your company that gets mad he's not included in the big meeting? Do you know what I mean?
What do you guys?
Like, he was never there. He seemed like he was never there.
I don't know if you guys noticed this. Dable during key moments would play like songs like Beyonce or Taylor Swift and things like that because they knew that HBO would have to get the copyright to that song to air it before they. So he'd be playing that if there was a situation where he wanted to keep sort of confidential.
He didn't really want him to use that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do know Dable drops a lot of F-bombs, man.
Oh, he drops a lot of F-bombs.
Love it.
Do you guys watch Welcome to Wrexham, the one with Ryan Reynolds?
No.
So the coach of that team always drops F-bombs, and they always call it spirit. So, like, let's see how spirited our coach is tonight. And then they'll go through and they'll count, like, the F-bombs during halftime, and they'll drop, he's like Cardone, dropping, like, 40 F-bombs in a 5-minute period.
We didn't get any, but it's preseason. It's preseason.
By the way, I went to see Deadpool versus Wolverine. 184 F-bombs were dropped in that movie.
Oh, I got to see that.
Oh, it was actually, the movie's phenomenal. I loved it. What I love about Deadpool movies is there's nothing off bounds. Like they made fun of Fox, they made fun of Disney, they made fun of everyone.
Love it.
Equal opportunity ass kicking for everyone.
Offense for everybody.
Offense for everybody. It's refreshing sometimes. Peacock's last question for Novak. So how big of a dick is Rodgers for skipping minicamp, and how did that go over in the locker room? What's the Jets fans' take on the dickiness of Rodgers?
I mean, I wasn't thrilled with it. I mean, you have a job, and you didn't play last year. If he had played all last year and he had this trip to Egypt or whatever, I guess I wouldn't care as much. He played 4 plays. Show up, change your trip. So I just think it was bad optics, but I think this was Rodgers' way of reminding all Jet brass and all Jet players who runs this fucking organization.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's his way to do it. He wasn't going to do it in the season. This is his way of saying, I run the show here. Just remember, if I don't want to go, I don't got to go. So I was not happy about it. But at the end of the day, does it really matter? No. But the optics are bad, in my opinion.
The optics.
Yep.
I love that we talk about optics almost as much as we talk about fits these days.
Well, they just don't need more bad optics. Their organization is a bad optic. Like, we enough.
It would be nice if both of our teams were relevant by Thanksgiving this year, which is something we always like. Our goal going in, our bar has been so low that like we're like, let's just be competitive at Halloween.
Yeah.
So I'm raising it from Halloween to Thanksgiving this year.
You're raising it. What did we do to get it raised? I'm sticking with Halloween, man.
I'm folding.
Meaningful football in October. That's the bar.
Scott's looking for meaningful dialogue.
The worst part about this year, I really want to get to a game. So I was, thought, well, we're going to go to the Panther game. Panthers are in Germany. And then I think, well, I can go down and see the Atlanta game. Atlanta game is a couple days before Christmas.
Yep.
And we're going to, ironically, our family's going to Germany on a trip. So I don't think I can go to that game. So I'm looking at maybe Tampa. Maybe we could do a road trip to Washington. I don't know what to do.
I got to look at the schedule again.
Yeah. I mean, we got
one of our buddies, John, friend of the show, is going to Pittsburgh, but the Pittsburgh game's a Monday nighter.
Yeah,
it is a Monday nighter.
Yep.
It's tough to do those road games on a Monday night,
I think the Buccaneers at the Giants or
no,
the Giants
the Buccaneers. It's in Tampa Bay.
No, it's at home, Scott.
Oh, is it at home?
Bucks are home.
Oh,
I
thought it was in Tampa Bay for some reason.
I plan on seeing the Jets in New Orleans, and they don't play the Saints.
Oops.
You guys got anything else tonight?
It's not really a good one on there, is there? Man.
It's tough to figure out one to go to.
Yeah.
I got some business travel early in September. A couple of the guys in Jersey were thinking about actually going to Cleveland to go see for the Brown game, but I got business travel all around there and stuff. It's gonna be tough. Yeah.
Well, if you can't go to that, go to the live pod, right, Scott?
There you go.
Live podcast. August 28th, Carolina Beer Temple in Matthews, North Carolina. Go to the live pod. We already have a lot of people that are going to go, but it'll be interesting for us because it's the first live pod we'll ever do. We're still trying to figure out, are we going to put this live on YouTube while we're doing it? Or are we going to record it and then put it on Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, and all of those? I don't know the logistics around it yet. So
Darren's going to be busy.
Darren needs a raise.
I don't think he's an intern anymore. We got a website and we're doing a live podcast. I mean, this is full-time stuff.
He's our marketing director.
Carolina Beer Temple.
He might have to go back to Cramerica. I mean, this is a lot of work.
Yeah, I don't think he was doing half this stuff. Yeah. Carolina Beer Temple, man. Good beer. Yep. And do you guys know me? You know my history in the podcast, right? I'm not a craft beer guy, right? I go in, I don't need to see the beer menu usually, which I'm appalled by the existence of a beer menu, by the way. But anyway, that's another pet peeve for another time. But I like Carolina Beer Temple's beers. I had some of those on, St. Patrick's Day this year. We went up there and enjoyed it very much. Cool place.
Great outdoor
seating. They have a great tap rotation there. Good stuff. Yeah.
So if you guys don't have anything else, I mean, check out our new website, angryfootballfans.com. You'll see our rants, our pet peeves, a little overview of everything we do. We'll be adding to that throughout the year. Again, check out Carolina Beer Temple if you're in the Charlotte area. And we are the Three Angry Giant Fans with Scott, Giant Mike, Cardone, and Angry Jet Fan Novak. Check us out on Twitter at angry_3 still. We do have a new logo, new everything for season 5. To me, it's a new beginning. Awesome optimism. I know you guys don't share my optimism. I have optimism.
I'm angry.
We're supposed to be.
I'm angry about your optimism.
So we'll be back next week to recap the preseason games and preview the next preseason games. And this is the time of year I actually start to have fun and drink during podcasts where I can babble on about who's going to play their starters, right?
Make it happen. Make it
Usually
happen,
when it
Scott.
happens.
All right. Check us out next week. See you guys later.
All right.
See ya.
See you.
I almost hit leave.